Hi guys, Tonka here for Niger Foodie. So today we're going to be making what I like to call stew base. It is called atalilo in Yoruba, and atalilo simply means blended pepper, and this is the base for a lot of Nigerian food like stew, stewed beans, anything that requires any type of stewing. Actually, the stew base is required. So in this stew base, I'm using the basics. I'm using tomatoes, onions, peppers. So peppers, I mean bell peppers or tatashe. So tatashe is actually kind of different from bell pepper. Bell pepper that you find abroad, you see that there are some that are sweet and there are some that are mild. If you're abroad, I recommend looking for shepherd pepper because it's not sweet. If you're going to use red bell pepper, look for one that doesn't say sweet red bell pepper, just red bell pepper, or look for something called crimson pepper. The only thing you have to consider if you're using crimson is that it is a little bit hot, just a little bit. So you want to adjust the atarudo, the scotch bonnet pepper that you're using. So like I said, this is a basic recipe. Some people go in and add garlic, some people add ginger. I do not add those two things because I use my stew base for a variety of things, right? So if I'm using it in stew, I might want to add garlic but not ginger. If I'm using it in jollof, I might want to add garlic and ginger. So I typically would add garlic and ginger later on when I'm using it in application. I use my stew base for beans. I use my stew base, which I do not put garlic in. I use my stew base for egusi soup, which I do not want to use garlic and ginger in. So that's kind of why I omit garlic and ginger in my stew base. But if you're the kind of person that you just like to have all of those flavors from the onset, then absolutely add all of those things from the beginning. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 ways to do it, 3 ways to make stew base. So the first method that we're going to be looking at is the traditional method, and the traditional method goes from all of the ingredients being boiled and then they're kind of simmered, and they're simmered to 1, cook, and 2, to remove excess water, and then it is stored. The second method that we're going to be using is the steamed method. So you're going to steam all of your ingredients first, and then you're going to cool it a little bit and blend. I like this method because it kind of looks like a creamier texture. And then the last method that we're going to be looking at is a method that I actually shared for the first time in 2015. You'll find it on the Nigerian Foodie website, which is the roasted stew base. And the roasted stew base is just a lot more smoky. It has a lot more depth to it. It's just a lot more flavorful when you're using it in things like stew, in things like jollof rice. So that is the third method that we're going to be looking at, and definitely choose whichever method works for you depending on how much time you have on your hand, because of course each one of them kind of like takes different amount of time to prep. But yes, that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making stew base in 3 ways. Let's make some Nigerian stew base. So I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways to make stew base depending on what you like. So the first method that we're going to be looking at is the traditional method, which aka how it's done at home. So you chop your tomatoes or the choppables, chop your peppers, chop your onions, chop your atarudo. In this video, I'm not going to be using anything like ginger or garlic. I'm just using the basics. So chop all of your choppables. Once you have all of them chopped, you're going to blend. Blend it until it's like super smooth. I fill up my blender until it cannot take anymore. Once it's smooth, I'm just going to add it to the pot, and the goal is just to really boil this down until it's 1, completely cooked, and 2, not hot anymore. The boiled method, we're doing the same chopping, and then we are going to add everything to a pot before we blend it. So we're just going to put it on a heat. It's going to reduce, don't worry, the pot is not too small. But I'm going to boil it for about 40 minutes to 60 minutes. I'm going to strain out all of the water. See, that's the vitamin that you're straining out. And then I'm going to give it a blend. And that is what this method looks like when it's blended. Then we have the roasted method. The roasted method, again, chop all of the things that you need to chop all of the choppables. If you're using ginger and garlic, feel free to add everything into the pan. And you can add in a little bit of oil just to make the roasting a bit, you know, more flavorful. So put it in the oven and make sure you stir it, especially if you have your tray packed like I did here. And once you have, you know, some brown spot at the top, is ready for you to blend, and just blend it. And that's it. That's what this looks like. Smooth and smoky. Which method do you typically use and which one do you prefer? This is a roasted one. You can see the texture difference. This is the boiled one. And this is the traditional one. You can see the texture is different. How it kind of like falls off the spoon is completely different. Interesting, isn't it?